Welcome back to another episode of One on One. I am joined this week by Talking Metal's Mark Strigl. Good day, Mark. How are you?
I'm great, Mitch. How you doing?
I'm great. And this is a great topic this week. We've got Bumblefoot talking about Kickstarter projects, but you and I are both personal friends of his, so it's going to be interesting. But before we get to that, we cannot forget the sponsor, Heavy Montreal, which takes place August 9th and 10th. In, of course, beautiful downtown Montreal at Parc Jean Drapeau. This year featuring Metallica, Slayer, Offspring, Lamb of God, Twisted Sister, of course, cannot forget them, Anthrax, and many, many more. And the same promoter, Evenko, is presenting Skid Row August 19th at the Corona Theatre in Montreal. Of course, if you don't live in Montreal, we certainly encourage you to come visit. And if not, certainly go support Skid Row if they're playing anywhere around you. Great band, right?
Definitely. Yes. Yeah.
So, this topic this week with Bumblefoot has somehow become controversial. They are going on tour with Gary Hoey. I have a hard time with that name, Hoey. And
I've always said Gary Hoey. Is that, I don't know. I might be wrong, but that's always what I think that's Gary Hoey, I think is correct. Because I believe when he played with Lita Ford, we did an interview with her, and I think she was saying Gary Hoey.
I should really get that straight. Make sure we get that straight. But, they're going out on tour, and it was supposed to be with Uli John Roth and Yngwie Malmsteen. Uli couldn't get into the States because of visa complications. And so now, instead of having 4 bands on the bill, splitting costs 4 ways, there are now 3 bands on the bill, or 3 artists on the bill, splitting the same costs 3 ways, which of course makes it more expensive. And so Bumble and Gary have started a Kickstarter campaign to basically finance the tour. And, my perspective on schemes like this is always, well, good for you. It's difficult out there to be a touring musician. It's difficult to make a living. And so you shouldn't be afraid to try something new. And the critics are on Metal Sludge and other places have pounced on this and said, how dare you ask the fans? But, you don't have to buy what you don't want to own. So if you don't believe in it, don't buy it. But if you want to see Bumblefoot and you want to have that access to the artist, and the only way you can do it is to support a Kickstarter campaign, well, why shouldn't you be allowed to do that, right?
Now, when you say access to the artist, so they get some sort of VIP treatment when they do a Kickstarter donation to the tour?
Yeah, well, like Pledge Music and like Kickstarter, there's all kinds of different things that they can get. They can have backstage access. They can just meet and have a meet and greet. There's Bumblefoot who has said that if you want, put a picture of you on his T-shirt or on his pant leg and wear it all night long. There's different pledge levels that you can make that get you different, what they call rewards. And, if that's sort of the way we got to do things in 2014 to finance, why not give it a try?
Yeah, and there's no one forcing you to make a donation to it. I'm totally for it. I think if it keeps the tour going and it means that they can be out there playing these shows for people, I mean, why not? There's no one forcing you to make a donation, and there may be some hardcore fans out there that want to donate. There may be some rich fans out there that want to donate. There may be some fans who have a dream of meeting Bumblefoot, and they can donate. Yeah, I think it's a great idea.
Yeah, why not? And it's sort of like, every day or every Tuesday, a new bunch of CDs come out, and, Miley Cyrus will have a new CD, but just because it's out there doesn't mean that you and I have to go buy it.
Yeah, and I mean, how much different is it really than, Kiss or Black Sabbath with their high-end VIP packages that you can buy where you get a seat up front and sometimes can even meet the band? It's not really that different than that. And let's face it, those guys are way, way more wealthy than a guy like Bumblefoot.
Yeah, and I think it's also being very honest. They're saying, we need this money to get this tour on the road. When you look at an Alice Cooper or a Motley Crue or Kiss, which, by the way, they can do they can do that. I have no criticism of them for doing what they do. They're just getting extra finances, or they're just sort of padding the books, which is perfectly fine. But for Bumble and for Gary, they actually need this. It's what they need to get on the road. So I don't know. I have no issues with this. I really don't know why the online community or some in the online community have started attacking the project. I think it's a great project.
Sounds like a good idea to me. And what we'll do, Mitch, is on talkingmetaldigital.com in the one-on-one section in today's show notes, we will have a link over to the Kickstarter page.
Yeah, absolutely. And Bumblefoot, by the way, is such a great guy. He deserves to be supported in any way, shape, or form, quite frankly.
Yeah. So, I mean, I know you've known him a long time. I've known him quite a long time. When did you first meet Bumblefoot?
Oh, boy. Good question. Wow. I think around the time that he was first announced or rumored to be in Guns N' Roses, being a reporter at the time for bravewords.com, which, by the way, a big shout out to them because they carry the news of this podcast all the time, and even the Talking Metal podcast.
Yeah,
they spread the news about. So kudos to them. There was questions of whether or not he had actually joined the band, and then there was a press release that said, no, it's a rumor. And through his internet site or his website at the time, I had contacted him, and we started a conversation then, and we've talked about his solo albums. And, when I did my Kiss A World With Heroes tribute, he was right in the front line. When I did the Rust Dwarf Wireless acoustic CD, there's a song called Drifting Back. And I said, this needs a solo. Got Bumble on the foot. And I think I've told you this story before. Sent him the track like at 1 PM, and by like 1:45, he had the solo done.
Wow.
And
that's awesome.
You're just like, oh, okay. And that's the kind of great guy he is. So I guess when did he first join Guns? Maybe 10 years ago?
2006, I believe. I was at the first show that he played with Guns N' Roses and no one knew who the guitar player was going to be, the replacement for Buckethead. And people in the audience were even thinking Slash might be back in the band. Who knew? But the curtain went up, and soon into the show, Axl announced, "This is Bumblefoot," and he's in the band. And it was great. We actually, John and I were there. We went backstage. My wife was there, and we said hello to him. And I hadn't seen him in a number of years, and he kind of knew me from a different name, my stage name, Captain T. I'd played a bunch of gigs with him back in probably, I wouldn't say a bunch of gigs, actually probably like 2 gigs back in 2000. And we had, at that time, kind of emailed each other back and forth and struck up a little friendship that then was rekindled after he joined Guns N' Roses. So I'm glad he got that gig, and I think it, in a way, is helped shine a light on his great solo career too.
Yeah. So let's take a listen to Bumble. Let him explain the whole Kickstarter project and the whys in his own words. But I'll just finish again by saying, for all the bands that do these kind of Kickstarter campaigns or do the after-show meet and greets, whether it's Kiss or Motley Crue or Ozzy or even Miley Cyrus and all, God bless them. It's tough making a living in this day and age, and in the 1970s, growing up with Kiss, if they had said you could pay $100 to meet Gene and Paul, I am pretty sure I would have done it.
Yep.
And the opportunity didn't exist then. Now it does. And so it gives you a choice. Do I invest or not invest? And, there's nothing wrong in a free market with choice.
Definitely.
So off you go. Let's listen to Ron Bumblefoot Thal. We are speaking with Ron Thal, better known as Bumblefoot. How are you today, Ron?
Good, man. How are you?
Good. Always good. Always a pleasure to speak to you.
And likewise, sir. Likewise.
Likewise. And, of course, you've got exciting news that we're going to get into great detail about. You've got a Kickstarter project that is to it's to finance a tour. You know, I've seen Kickstarter projects and pledge music projects to finance albums and movies and books, but I've never heard about financing a tour this way. So tell me about the Kickstarter. Tell me about the tour. Let's get into the nitty gritty.
Yeah. So the tour is called Guitar Gods. This is Yngwie Malmsteen's creation.
Yes. Definitely a guitar god.
Yeah, absolutely. So he put together something. It's a U.S. tour, and it is Hoey, John Roth,
okay,
Gary Hoey,
yep,
me opening for Yngwie. In fact, as of just recently, Hoey had to leave the tour.
Right.
Unfortunately, so it's just me and Gary are gonna prep the crowd.
Okay.
For Yngwie, but you know the expenses of this tour were actually once the tour was solidified and everything came together, it wasn't exactly what we
needed.
How do I say it without making anyone sound bad? Wasn't what we expected, what
right,
we were told. And we want to take good care of our band. We want to take care of things, and we want to make it good, and we want to be able to do some interesting stuff and give a little back.
Well, sorry to cut you off, but let's talk about that. You know, back in the day, you know, in the 80s and 90s, there was a thing called tour support, and you had a record company. They threw a whole bunch of money at you, and it was easy to go out on the road, and that just doesn't happen anymore.
No, now, you know, bands, openers, you know, you get a flat rate pay
right,
for playing a show, and with the price of gas and the vehicle, and originally the vehicle was going to be split amongst 3 people, and that was 2, and it became very
costly.
Yeah, and this is coming out of our pockets. It's
right,
not, you know, nobody is paying for this, and we're not millionaires or anything like that. And just don't want to be in the red, and we want to make sure that we can do right by the band and the crew and everything. And so Gary had the idea. He's done one before. He's like, let's do a Kickstarter campaign. I was like, never did one before, but let's give it a shot. And so we were on the phone for about an hour, just cracking up as I was coming up with the stupidest things you could think of, just the dumbest, weirdest stuff. And so, for example, for $200, I will tape a picture of your mom or your dog, your pet, on my thigh for the entire show of choice.
That's funny.
And then, they just kept getting like weirder and weirder and more extreme. And we, for $5,000, I will wear the same pair of underwear for the entire tour. I'll write your name on the waistband and take a picture before every show so you know that I'm wearing this. And at the end of the tour, I will mail you the underwear, plus a guitar pick.
Now that's a weird fetish for somebody out there, isn't it?
I think it's just more to see who wants to torture me and make me wear... Yeah, that's pretty nasty. But then there's good stuff too. There's you can come up and be a guitar god for a day, and you could jam, a song on stage with us. You can for $1,000, we'll do a guitar solo on your album.
Right.
Or there's simple stuff like just recording, a voice message for you. Like you got to go to traffic court and explain why you were speeding. Well, you could just play a little message from me. It's like, yeah, got to break up with your girlfriend. Well, I'll do it for you.
No, but, jokes aside for a second, it is important to let fans know, because fans will say, well, why don't you come and play in Hawaii? Why don't you play in San Diego? Why don't you play in Calgary? And you're like, well, I'm in New Jersey. For me to get to Calgary or for me to drive to San Diego, that costs money. And so it's not always just the promoter doesn't want to bring you. There's a reality of costs. And so This is a good way to offset the cost. And it's also a good way to not have that excuse. If those fans in St. Louis all gang up on the Kickstarter, you're going to come because now you're financed.
Yeah. And I was a little concerned at first because I knew how some people would react because they think that because I'm in Guns N' Roses that I'm getting money for Sweet Child of Mine or something.
Right.
No. I claim Guns N' Roses, but I think that a lot of GNR fans, the ones that I guess that hate me already and are looking for more ammunition, were just like, oh, there's a millionaire out there begging. It's like, well, first of all, people aren't getting something for, it's not like you get nothing in return. We're giving you gear, we're in return audio, video, time, for, one of the things is we'll go to your house and cook you dinner and put on an acoustic show for an hour.
I really don't see why people would complain. Growing up in the 70s and being a fan of Kiss and Aerosmith and all that, everybody was just sort of mythical. They existed in a world that I had never had access to. And same with the 80s. And now with Kickstarter campaigns and Pledge Music, you can have a Skype guitar lesson. You can have them come play an acoustic show at your house. I mean, it's the fan's dream. I mean, it's a fan's world these days. So folks should definitely get out there and support this.
And a lot of them do. They definitely do. The thing is doing well so far. It's been a couple of days and it's already a quarter of the way at the goal.
Good.
So that's nice. Hey, look at the Kiss album that we did.
Yeah, the A World with Heroes, which, by the way, we're recording on June 10th. It was 1 year ago today that it went to mastering. So isn't that exciting?
Very nice.
Yeah, and that was a good campaign.
It's a perfect example of people coming forward and instead of paying a record label, you're just giving it to the artist. I think some people though find that distasteful, but they don't realize that if you really care about the artist, it's better than giving it to the label who's not going to give it to the artist. Yeah. And I just hate talking about this crap. It just feels so blah.
Yeah, I know. Yeah. I know, but there's nothing wrong in being honest and saying, listen, if you want us to get on the road, it takes some support, and this is one of the new ways to do it. And that's sort of the magic of the internet and social media, is that you can do stuff the way you want to do it and the way you want to present it without having a record company come in and say, well, you need backup singers and you need choreography and you need recoupment costs on the bus. And it's like, no. I'm going to go out and play for my fans, period. That's it. So it is refreshing. But let's talk about the actual tour. So Yngwie is going to come out and close the show, of course, and do what Yngwie does, his guitaring and his soloing and all that stuff. What can we expect from you? What is the tour for you?
Well, I'm going to be there with my band, and I'm going to be playing my own songs that I've been putting out on my own albums for 20 years.
Right.
People know my stuff in Europe, but in the U.S., I have not done a lot of touring. I always did it in Europe.
Right.
So this is really my first full in a bus for 5 weeks U.S. tour.
That's great.
So I'm looking forward to it. What am I going to be doing? I'm going to be doing what I always do, which is going off on tangents, talking nonsense in between songs, probably. I'll try and keep that to a minimum.
Let me restate that question. Are you doing sort of an instrumental show, or are you doing...
Oh, no, it's all vocal stuff.
Okay.
You know what? I forget that people don't know. Okay, for everyone listening that has no idea and just thinks that I just play, GNR songs.
Yeah.
I'm a lead singer. I sing lead in my band. Also playing lead, I have a drummer, a bassist, and a rhythm guitarist. They kick ass. And I have a bunch of songs that I guess a lot of people think they sound sort of like a mixture of Sex Pistols and Queen with a lot of wacky guitar stuff going on. I guess, decide for yourself. Give it a listen. But it's all, it's hard rock music. It is vocal music. There's a few instrumentals I'm going to put in there.
Okay.
I'll probably do the ones that have the crazier guitar stuff, since it is a, guitar-oriented little mini festival thing.
Yeah, and so that's where the question comes from, because when you look at the G3 shows back in the day that Yngwie was on one year with Satriani and all, that's sort of an all-instrumental show, and now we're talking Guitar God, so I just wanted to know, is it sort of another sort of G3, or is this three, like, is Yngwie bringing out a singer on this one?
I'm pretty sure that his bandmates sing.
Okay.
So they're going to be covering, from what I understand. So they will be doing the vocal stuff.
Okay.
So yeah, it should be, plenty of singing going on throughout the whole thing. And what people can do if they're just curious and want to hear what my music sounds like, I guess a good thing, ReverbNation.com/Bumblefoot. And there's little snippets, little sort of like album preview things on there, and you could hear what a lot of stuff sounds like, just to hear what I do.
Yeah. Now you've mentioned that you've been putting stuff out for 20 years or so. Of course, you've been doing all that touring with Guns N' Roses. Is there anything new in the Bumblefoot catalog? Are you working on anything new, solo album, anything else?
Yeah, I'm about halfway done writing, recording next solo album.
Okay.
It's kind of different this time. I think since the last one, as I've grown up a bit, tends to keep on happening.
Right.
I guess with each new gray hair. So I've earned a lot of them at this point. I'm proud of my gray hairs.
Well,
like I said, going off on random tangents here.
It's funny, because I just saw a picture of John Bon Jovi in the newspaper. He was at some hospice or something the other day, and he had gray hair, and I was like, oh, yeah, we're all getting those, right?
Yeah, even him.
Yeah.
So yeah, I'm doing that. It's actually coming up pretty melodic, and I feel like I'm achieving something that I always wanted to and never quite really did, which is going back to Ace Frehley. It all goes back to Kiss, because that's how my love for
it really does.
Making music started, which is, to me, I always said that Ace Frehley made the parts of the Kiss songs that you sang. It wasn't even Paul Stanley's vocals. It was Ace's solos that you would sing.
Yeah.
And that's something that I just never really felt like I truly nailed in my music. I felt like it's like I had all the noodly down, but there were melodies in there, but there are certain guitar melodies that are just singable, and I feel like on this album they're coming out.
It's I've learned that everything circles back to Kiss in the music world. Speaking of sort of classic bands, you obviously play guitar with Guns N' Roses. Recently, you've done a bunch of shows with Duff McKagan coming back in, the original bass player. Tell me a little bit about those shows and what it was like for you personally to look across the stage and go, wow, Duff's there.
Now, it's not my first time playing with Duff. When Loaded came to New York in 2009 when they were touring, I jammed with them.
But I'm talking about in the context of with Axl there and watching Sweet Child of Mine and Paradise City, and you go, that's Duff.
He has joined us on stage
many times,
a couple of times in the past few years, but we've never done an entire show together, and we did half a dozen. We did in South America, and we did Golden Gods. It's nice.
And the
cool
Vegas
playing
show.
with him. He's rock solid, and he's just a sweetheart of a guy, and is just a good person to play with. That's how it is. Like when I don't know, musicians and other musicians. It's like you just enjoy playing with different people, and you just love the experience. But you don't think of it from the context of like, as a fan saying, wow, I can't believe I'm playing with this person. You almost think of it at this musical level where you're both musicians and you're just kind of vibing out as musicians, and you don't think about that stuff.
Yeah,
So like even, you know, what was it, like half a year ago I played with Ace and Peter and doing like Hooligan with Peter. He hadn't played that song in like 30 years. And as a Kiss fan, I would be peeing in my pants. I'd be like, oh my God, I can't believe I'm playing with these guys. But when you're on the stage, it's more like you're just really focused on the song and connecting musically and just getting a real kick out of that and having fun with it. And you don't think about the rest.
Yeah, you know, as a Kiss fan myself, I'm almost ashamed to say that I forgot about that, but that was for the Eddie Trunk 30th anniversary.
Yeah.
And what a great moment that was to see Ace and Peter together on the stage, and then knowing that you're a fan and also that Scott Ian's a fan.
Yeah.
I was watching that, mostly looking at you two going, oh, they've got to be crapping each other. I mean, that's just too...
I think after the fact, like, me and Frankie Bello were just sort of...
like, what was
like,
that?
Wow, man, we just played with our childhood heroes. And like, and then I'm looking at Frankie, and it's like, wait a minute. I grew up listening to Anthrax. Like, it's like, I'm in some damn good company here. What the hell am I doing here?
Yeah.
It's like, how did I end up here?
You know, and Peter could still play. It sounded good. Hooligan sounded good.
Oh, he was fantastic. Yeah, he was solid, and his voice was great, and yeah, he's got it. He's totally got it.
He's you know, he's as they say in the old days, a cool cat. But you know, last year you also did that tour with that band Alive with Rex Brown, Mark Zavon, and Tishy playing the Kiss songs. Tell me a little bit about that experience of actually getting out there and doing an hour and a half show with you singing all the Paul songs and stuff. How was that?
That was fun.
Yeah.
Oh man, that was a good time. We had a lot of fun doing that stuff. Because they're great guys to play with. I mean, they all kick ass, and they all come from like amazing musical backgrounds. The things they've done, my God. And to get together, almost like a bunch of kids, just playing all the Kiss songs we grew up on. You know, from the first time we played together, the stuff was completely rock solid because we all grew up with this music so deeply etched in who we are that it's like we didn't even need to rehearse. Like we just, from the first time we played, it was gig ready, and we were all just like right there.
Yeah.
So it was fun. We were just having a blast.
It certainly would be fun to see a few more shows. Now, I mean, I know it's difficult with everybody going off and doing their own thing, but that's got to be one of those, like every Christmas at, you know, the Roxy or at, you know, whatever place. You just do
that. Yeah.
A once a year New Year's Eve show in Vegas or something, because that would actually be worth checking out because it was rock solid. So this tour that you're doing with the Guitar Gods, it runs for 5 weeks, as you mentioned. Any plans to do a second leg or a European leg or a Japanese leg? And if not, what are the plans for Bumblefoot heading out, for the rest of 2014?
So I'm still halfway done with my album. So I'm going to do these shows on the tour bus. Hopefully there's time that I can lay some tracks on a little interface into the laptop and keep working on the album and get stuff done. When I get back, I'm just going to lock myself in the studio, turning down every tour offer and just don't want to do anything until the album is done. And then I want to get out and I just want to face-to-face play it for the world over and over. So as soon as the album is done, I just want to get out and tour everywhere. Definitely.
That's definitely a good plan. You've done in the last year. You had done some sort of guitar clinics and stuff where you were out in Turkey and all these other countries. Any more of that coming up?
Yeah, I definitely want to do more of that. I love doing that stuff.
Okay.
Because it's about as personal as you can get as far as anything that's like a performance. It's completely, you're just sitting down with everybody and just a whole lot of back and forth. And that's what I love about gigs. My favorite part of playing live is the personal stuff. You know, every gig, like with GNR, I'm reaching my guitar out into the crowd so that they could strum the chords. If there's anyone on stage, I just run over to them. And it's like, yeah, play the guitar. God, even, at the Vegas show, for the last two shows, one of the dancers on stage because we had pole dancers.
Nice.
And so I gave her the guitar. I was like, "Here, play." And so I jumped up on the pole and turned upside down. And yeah.
Which is amazing considering that you had some physical challenges last year. How are we doing health-wise?
Doing good, yeah. Car accident, you believe that was 3 years ago already now.
Was it already 3 years ago?
3 years.
Holy
as long as I eat right and watch how I move, I'm okay.
Okay, because I know there was a while there with the double neck guitar on your back for like a 3-hour show. Even the strongest of us, without an accident, can't do that. So I can just imagine what it must have been like, with a sore neck and a sore back. And
I'll tell you, that guitar is a workout. It is. That thing is a damn workout.
Time to throw it out and just go with a...
I like the workout. I like it. It's
okay. Keeps
you strong. Keeps you healthy.
The other thing that's coming out at the end of the month here, or beginning of July, is the Guns N' Roses live, and I think Vegas or whatever it was, DVD. Excited to see that out finally?
I'm curious. I'm very curious to see it. Well, actually, I'm not, because I know how it's going to be. I never watch my own live stuff, because when I do, I just hear all the mistakes and all the screw-ups, like, oh, man, I could have played that so much better. Oh, God, that sounds terrible. Oh, look at me. Oh. So I'm going to be doing that and just, like, tearing it apart and feel miserable. But I hope people like it.
Though, I certainly appreciate that, because for most of the interviews that I do, I don't listen back, and I guess you sort of should, right? You need to listen back and just go, okay, this is what it was, and
I guess sometimes you have to face yourself, and
I guess it's a shyness or something that we both have, but it's okay.
Well, also it's like, why torture yourself? You can't undo it. You can't go back in time and fix it or change it or anything. I mean, if you really make some bad mistakes, they'll probably stay in your memory and you'll learn from them and do better the next time. But you need to relive it and hear it again. And
yeah, for me, it's not always just about the mistakes or what I said. A lot of it has to do with, well, I was at that interview. I know what was said.
Yeah.
Exactly.
You don't want to live twice.
It's like, well, I already spent 40 minutes doing it. Now that makes it 80 minutes if I have to listen to it again. But
just moving forward and just keep plugging forward.
Keep moving forward. Speaking of moving forward, so let's send people out to all these different sites. There's obviously the Kickstarter campaign. So you're looking for the Gary, Hoey, and Bumblefoot Guitar Gods Tour link. What else do we have to plug? Oh,
there's that. There's all the VIP meet and greet stuff. We can hang out, and you get all laminates and pics and posters and photos and blah 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 and all that stuff. So I have links to all that. If you go to bumblefoot.com, you will find links to the Kickstarter, to the VIP stuff. You will find the list of shows. We're hitting a lot of places, starting in the Northeast, working our way to the Northwest up to Vancouver, heading down to Santa Ana, California, and then working our way east to Houston.
Perfect. So there you go. So let's just go with that then. Let's send everybody over to bumblefoot.com, and then from there you can find the links to Facebook, Twitter, Kickstarter, Reverb Nation, and everything else you need to know.
Beautiful.
That sounds good. Bumblefoot, always a play. Oh, I was going to ask one last question. Sorry about that. You're doing your own album. Are you? And you said that you're not touring. You're not doing anything else. Are you playing on anybody else's album? Are you for hire for if Kiss wanted you to guitar spot on a song, would you do it? Or are you doing any projects these days?
I've been really trying to stay focused on my own thing, just so I keep the momentum. Right. But yeah, I do that stuff. Okay. I go and do one-offs and guest, either at a gig or a guest in the studio, just laying down solos. I've always done that kind of thing. Yeah, okay. I've done a ton of that.
Good.
So yeah.
So there you go. Thank you, Bumblefoot. Remember, again, bumblefoot.com is your landing page for everything that we've talked about. And hey, let's do this again someday.
Absolutely.
Thank you.
Thanks so much, man. I'll talk to you soon.
What you just heard was Mitch's interview with Bumblefoot, a fellow New Jerseyan, and great stuff, Mitch.
Yeah, thank you. And great stuff from Bumble. He's always a pleasure to talk to. I mean, absolutely wonderful guy, wonderful human being, as the saying goes. And I hope that after you've heard that, you can sort of understand his perspective and understand where the Kickstarter is coming from. And, if you want to go buy into it and go have fun at the shows. And if you don't want to buy into the Kickstarter, go to the show anyway, because with Yngwie, Gary, and Bumblefoot, you're going to get a great night of entertainment.
Absolutely. That's guaranteed for sure. Guys, support Mitch and what he does here with a PayPal donation. Mitch's PayPal account is mitchminute@aol.com. Please visit Talking Metal Digital.
Yes.
Check out all the different shows we offer there, including my show Talking Metal, and Victor Ruiz does Mars Attacks. We have Talking Rock. We're having discussions about adding some other shows. So if you have ideas about other shows you might want to see added to the network, please send me an email at mark@talkingmetal.com. I'd love to hear your thoughts on what you like. Do you like wrestling? Do you like comic books? What type of podcast would you like to hear on Talking Metal Digital?
Yeah, and I think we need to do a show where all the podcasts, we all get together and talk it all out and have some kind of episode where we can debate, I don't know, Kiss or something.
Yeah, definitely. Sooner than later. Let's do that.
Yeah. And, another thing that I just want to add before we leave here is I think what I'm going to start doing also at the end of some of the episodes in the second part is start featuring some lesser known bands just to have fans discover new artists or discover artists that they wouldn't hear of because, mainstream media, whatever you want to call it, isn't featuring them. So hopefully people will like that feature. I don't know if I'll do it every single episode. I'll try to do it when it's feasible and when it's interesting. Go to the one-on-one Facebook or my personal Facebook or my Twitter and just write me and let me know. Good idea, bad idea. And if you have a band that has a record deal and has some product out, or you're on tour and you want to be featured, maybe we can do something. Maybe we can spread the word a bit.
Definitely. And we'll have all those links up to the one-on-one Facebook page and the Twitter account, all that stuff. Again, you can find on talkingmetaldigital.com in the one-on-one section.
Yeah, and of course, this episode brought to you by Heavy Montreal, taking place August 9th and 10th at Parc Jean Drapeau in beautiful downtown Montreal with 3 Days Grace, Voivod, Hatebreed, Offspring, Lamb of God, Anthrax, Twisted Sister, and I will say this every time, my personal favorite, Metallica, and of course, not Heavy Montreal, Evenko is bringing Skid Row to town on August 19th at the Corona Theater. If you're not in Montreal, support Skid Row if they're in your town. Great bunch of guys, deserve your support. There you go, Mark. We're done.
Cool. Yes. Talk to you next time, Mitch.
Have a good one.